there are a few things that show up on this homework 24 that I don't feel like we're quite prepared for. So I wanted to make sure that I went over the piece of information that's a little bit different than what it normally is when we've been doing the problems. So the first thing is, in the given statement, it says that C is the midpoint of BD and of AE. So C is actually the midpoint of two segments. So because of that, we're actually going to put one segment in the first circle and one segment in the second circle. Okay, so C is the midpoint of BD will go in one circle, and C is the midpoint of AE will go in a second circle. So that's not something that we've typically had to do, and that will only show up if you have a midpoint or a bisector. You can't have double of anything else. So you can have a midpoint of two segments, or you can bisect two angles, but the bisecting one is not as common. Midpoint can happen to two specific segments, so that would go in two circles. Both of those are given. And then from there, you would write in the statements that are congruent based on it being just the midpoint of this one segment. So my first one would be BC is congruent to CD by definition of a midpoint. And then you would have a second statement here. Now over here, if you kind of counted how many boxes you ended up using, you would count that you used two circles, 3 boxes across here, and then the one triangle congruency box at the bottom, which is 6 different parts of the flowchart proof. But there's only 5 over here. You are more than welcome to write in a 6th, letter 6 at the bottom, or a 6th step. But the reason that there's only 5 is because the given statement is technically only one statement. So even though we break it up into 2 statements for a flowchart, you actually don't need to break it up into 2 statements for the 2-column proof. So that given statement can be written just as one statement, even though it's going to give you 2 statements from definition of midpoint after that. But you're more than welcome to add in a 6th statement and write it out just like you wrote out the flowchart proof. So here it could be one statement where C is the midpoint of BD and AE, or you could write them out as 2 separate. But if you write them out as 2 separate, then you have to add a 6th statement and reason at the bottom. Okay, so you can kind of make a choice for that. Okay, going on to the back side. So today the back side is the homework. Okay, and these are kind of already done for you for the most part, but they are fill in the blank. Okay, so the first thing you always do is you always write in the givens. So the first statement is already written in for you, and the reason is given. Okay, so I have dealt with that statement. Then I know that my next statement is also going to be given, so what else was given to me? So I'm going to put this CB congruent to DE in there because that was also given to me. So I dealt with that one. Okay, then before you progress forward, take a second to actually mark those things on the picture. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty difficult at the end to tell why the triangles are congruent to each other. Okay, so we'll mark the angle B congruent to the angle E. And then we'll mark CB congruent to DE. And now it's EAD, that's this angle here at A, BAC, AC is this angle here at A. What kind of angles are those? Those are vertical angles theorem. Okay, and then the fourth thing. So now we have, in our picture, we've got our 3 things. I've got an angle, I've got a side, and then I've got another pair of angles. Okay, that is not the congruency statement though. It is not angle, side, angle, because this side is not in between your two A's. So I'll write down my two A's, but then before I write in my S, I check to see, is that S in between the two A's? Nope. So I shouldn't slide the S in between. And I'll write it here at the end. And my last statement is going to be this proof statement, triangle EAD is congruent to triangle BAC.